Fast forward, any come out Johnny so AGH Politics Avenue. When you have podcast or secretary is making headlines. And I jump right now, you'll be a sum war. Any of me rock Simon, only young political highways in Eja de Man, and yet as to a crowd. Now, ye by Rema, Chanoswam say, Abra, Ken Ofori-Atta, a free gun haxi, a poor amanonino. Why say, and I a beton from Mamuse. Or call Aksa no yare. Emma, the medical report, cry a babontain. Emma a beto and tintin feeding so. Now, information be a yagada every key points, and they do my dear a course of TV3. Dead say, Papano is alleged, said the medical report. It was forged. Now, at this point in time, men semre yembo inra in simunum na yenji in simunum in trim. Chanaswam say haxi AGH politics abed.
At least what we've seen from the office within the week, giving some further and better particulars to the circumstances around the time. And one of it is what the question that Manasseh was asking, and then also what could have been done differently. Would the demand of coming to the public, updating the public about this earlier than now have made any difference at all from what you said?
Not too clear on the question. The demand to come earlier on which issue?
On the challenges he was facing at the time when Ken Ofori-Atta was leaving the country, even though he was aware. If we gotten to know earlier than now, how much of a difference would that have made?
Well, thank you. Let me first put in context that I've been following the exchanges, and the more information I've had on both sides, I think that there is a communication gap.
There's a communication gap.
Yeah. I think that the lawyers are looking at the minimum threshold of what amounts to criminality and trying to make sure they get to a certain point before they say this is a case. And sometimes their feedback to Manasseh is couched in that kind of context. And I think these two groups probably need to sit down and have a discussion. For many of us, we are clear that the OSP should stay focused and deliver the mandate we gave to that office. My memory of the chronology tells me that it would not have made a difference because, you see, when Ken applied on health grounds, and prior to that, a number of us had been in the Ministry of Finance where they were doing the projections on Ejapa, etc. And he participated in that meeting. I remember I was with Kofi Bentel and Franklin Kujo from Mayo Clinic. So we knew there was some health issue. But we were in the conference room of Ministry of Finance and this was going on. And so when these issues came up, many of us felt that the SP should be more human, more responsive. Allow the man to go and do his health check. This is a Ghanaian at a very high level. He should come back and answer. That's accountability, that's leadership. So in my view, I don't think it would have made any difference. I think this is much ado about nothing, a storm in a teacup. I think let's focus on the important issues. We have a country to build. I don't see how, in fact, maybe you need to play that tape back to me. I don't see how that becomes the basis of asking for the removal of the special prosecutor. I probably need much more compelling evidence. So this is not an issue I want to belabor too much. Mm-hmm. I think that let's move on.
I see. But then, in the response of the special prosecutor, it did indicate that Ken Ofori-Atta gave an assurance that anytime he is needed, he would make himself available. That was the assurance he gave to the incoming chief of staff and the outgoing at the time of his departure, which you referenced the meeting, right, that you were privy to. But looking at the play of events, right from that day of the assurance till now, should there have been enough currency put on that assurance, especially because of the person and then also the circumstance around which he was living?
I think that we must take we should take ourselves at face value. I think it'd be unfortunate if we began not to be able to say our leaders make a promise and we hold them to their promise. There may be extraneous factors that have led to where we find ourselves today. But if you choose to lead, you must be accountable. And that's the first thing all of us must understand. And if we are not grooming ourselves to understand that, then that's a shame. In other cultures, people don't even need to make a hue and cry for you to say, I resign, or I'm going to face, accept on behalf of the company that I should be held accountable, and perhaps we are losing that or missing that in our society. I think that it was all right for them to expect that he will come back. I think that his family, his lawyers have a duty of care to all of us to make sure that he comes back. And I think that no Ghanaian should accept, political office if you're not willing to be accountable. That makes me very uncomfortable. So I don't begrudge the OSP or any of the other actors for saying that, okay, we let you go, especially in the context that this man had a health condition. It was not something that was fabricated, And so to that extent, I think that at this stage, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta should be called upon. If he's finished his treatment, if he's in a better condition, we want to know about that. He should come back and answer the questions that he ought to be answering. And let's make sure that our governance systems work for this country.
Well, you see, Dr. Joseph Addo, this is coming at a time when a lot of questions are being asked of the special prosecutor because of the element of accountability. Because there's a number of cases at play right now that Ken Ofori-Atta will have to come and answer. Prime being the SML deal, which the special prosecutor himself has said that he is the chief architect of it, which is a subject of major investigation. Now, he stated that, well, and I knew he was leaving. I couldn't get the support of the security agencies. I have it now. We couldn't put him on a stop list because it's a routine and it is different from an extradition process. Is there any assurance of a physical appearance of Ken Ofori-Atta anytime soon?
I don't know. And I don't think it matters to me. And I honestly don't care about that particular one. My position on accountability and being held accountable for office is clear. I have advocated and I continue to advocate regime accountability and post-regime accountability. I have said that any man or woman who takes an oath to hold an office must know that a day will come, he or she will also have to raise the hand to take an oath to be held accountable for that. And I've said that if a sitting president is unable or unwilling to hold his or her own appointees to account, it is completely fair and okay for another regime to come in and hold them accountable. So long as their fundamental human rights, the things the lawyers talk about, right to counsel, presumption of innocence, so long as all that is held, I have no problem. I will never sit anywhere and try to make it look like, oh, this person should not be held accountable. No. Accountability is a cornerstone of democracy, and we must be seen, not only to be seen, we must actually make sure that people, powerful people, who occupy powerful positions are held to account for their actions or actions, whether in office or out of office. I have absolutely no problem with that. Two, when it comes to OSP, I've also advocated my problem. One, I've said that that office has to go. I said that that office has outlived its usefulness. And I've said that if you do a very common value for money audit or analysis of that office, and you look at how much money, resources we put in that office, and then you want to say how much have we got for it as a nation, we are making a loss and we could make it a loss. And I've said that we should scrap that office completely, and the money that we were supposed to use to run that office, we should add it to the money for the big push. We should add it to the money for the 24-hour economy. We should use that money to help make the Tumu town roads. We should send some of that money to Tumu market, to Techima market, all the place, and give it to the buffer stock to buy the excess maize, the excess beans, the excess rice. Put some money in the pockets of people so that they can spend Christmas. There are better ways to spend that money than to keep spending it in that place. I've also said that. And I want to be clear, and I'm still mean that because that office has outlived its usefulness, not there. Three, But there's something from a managerial position that you hear. It is something that the OSP office has been saying. Martin Amidu said it, and you are hearing it from the current occupant. This lack of cooperation with others. I don't know whether it is real or they are making it up, or they are manufacturing it. Either way, there seem to be a situation where both seem to be claiming they do not have cooperation. And I ask the question, why don't you have the cooperation? You see, cooperations like this are earned. It's not like respect. It's earned. It's not demanded. If you are the OSP and you need, for instance, the CID, that respect you need from the CID is not something that can just be. The law may just go as far as saying cooperate with the CID. But for you to be able to pick a phone, call somebody at the CID, and that person will put everything down and give you the file you want, it depends on the respect you're able to build with that person. Mm-hmm. If you are the OSP and you need cooperation with immigration, with NIB, with everybody, the people that do not owe you, if they can delay, maybe you want it ASAP, and they will say it's not ready. Mm-hmm. But if you also have very good managerial and interpersonal relationship with them, you could call them today and they will suspend everything and make sure you get the file you want. So there seems to be something lacking in that office, especially if you have both the current and the former one all talking about the lack of cooperation from other state agencies. Either way, I am personally happy right now that these cases are before court. I am happy that right now these cases have gone to court. Let us go to court and try to get these monies back. Let's try to go to court and try to establish accountability. Let's go to court, because the court will then let us know whether these issues we are making, whether they are real or they're just pumped up. The court will let us know whether crimes were committed, and the courts will determine the consequences. If the courts rule and find people guilty, I think that from where I'm sitting, it's easier to say that, okay, Mr. A has been found guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction. This country extradite that person. I think that is a fast and easy way. So long as it is possible under the Guardian law, and I think, Martin, you said that, and I think for you to try somebody in absentia, let's go ahead and do that. For me too, I'm also praying that we do that now so that we don't get a situation where when there's power changes and a new person comes, the issue is nolle prosequa, and then all these monies we are talking about are flushed down the drain. The cases is now before court. Let's go to court. Let's try these issues so that the talking is no, because I don't want us to, this is now turning into a shouting match. It is now turning into a talking game. It doesn't, no. The cases are in court. Let's go to court. Let's put the facts on the table. Let the people have the right to defend themselves. Let the state have the right to make its own case. At the end of the day, when people are found guilty, they should be punished appropriately. And at the end of the day, if they are not found guilty, their names should be restored and they can go ahead with their lives. I think that is where we've gotten to, and that is the position I want to take. Let the courts decide, let the fate of this people, which is now in the hands of the state and the court, be decided and let it go. And then we can also then ask ourselves, so far I've not seen that. If one company, SML, is accused to have done all these things, what are we doing as a country, as a nation, to make sure that we don't have another SML in the future? What are we doing? What laws are we protecting? What rules are we perfecting? What processes are we perfecting? What loopholes are we covering to make sure that we do not have a similar thing going in the future? Because as a country, as a developing country, and as an emerging economy, something tells me that smarter and intelligent people are going to sit down and they're going to come up with various ways of doing businesses. Are we doing enough to make sure that maybe 2 years down the line, 3 years down, 8 years down the line, we don't come back to another issue? Are we doing enough? The Internal Audit Agency, is it doing enough to make sure that we do not come back to a similar situation down the line? Ghana Audit Service, are they doing enough to make sure that we do not come here? Ministry of Finance and their other regulatory agencies, are they doing enough to make sure that down the line tomorrow we don't get up and hear that another company led by my brother here Mr. Sohede has also come up with something like this, or by another company led by Solo. As for Solo, if you get, you go give me some make a chop, right? Mm-hmm. You have, so that one I would talk. But as a country, we have to be worried about these things because it's not going to stop. But now there are people sitting somewhere cooking figures, thinking about smart, intelligent business plans to come. My point is that the real rules, the guard rules, the people, the men and women who are supposed to be protecting the public purse, are we making sure that they are well trained, they are well protected, they are well paid, and they have the right tools to make sure that similar things do not happen in line? I wish we could all sit down here and say, Ghana, we will never see a similar thing like this. But we cannot all say it. So please, let's go back to that. Unless and until we do that. Look, one of the things that we were talking about was these leakages. in the financial sector? Have we done enough, and are we doing enough to protect? Because this may be a leakage, this could have been a leakage in the finance sector. Have we done enough? Are we doing enough to make sure that similar ones don't happen? The socialists will say that we shouldn't look at where we we failed, but we should look at where we hit our leg. Where did we hit our leg? Where did we go wrong? And what are we doing as a nation? Are we rising up to the occasion to make sure that we do this? If we do not do this, Alfred, I'm afraid we'll come back to this one day again, and they will ask us, what did we learn?
But you see, there's a question that you're asking, which I want to bring in Solomon also on this, whether or not it was indeed the case that the special prosecutor was actually truly facing any challenges in stopping Ken Ofori-Atta, or these are issues that the office makes up. That's a question that Dr. Zato asks. But to authenticate this, you've had a further layer of Martin Pebu going to at least one of the many, is it not?
Yeah, I've got the three. So
I only ever see Amikas handling situations like this on television, never in real life.
Hey, Akroma kukwe chashiye.
Nti ye hwesa asudie ya Ghana police e de ato dadwenman so a emu oya are ho nso.
Looking at what the Ghana police is doing in the community makes me sad. The way victims are treated is quite troubling. They are picked up early in the morning and sent to court within just 3 days.
Yeah.
The police is here to issue a statement on the development.
Let's head to the Upper East region now, and residents of that region have been urged to take advantage of the upcoming gun amnesty period and surrender their illicit arms to the police. The call was made during a capacity building workshop for border security agencies in Paga. Kashra Senala, our correspondent in the Upper East region, has more in this report.
The proliferation of small arms and light weapons remains one of the most pressing security challenges. These illegal firearms are often at the heart of violence that destabilizes communities, requiring coordinated, multi-sectorial and sustained action. Out of a total of 2.3 million firearms in civilian hands in Ghana, an estimated 1.2 million are illicit arms. To fortify Ghana's border at Paga against the infiltration of illegal arms, the National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons, the United Nations Development Programme, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, and the Global Firearms Programme organized a capacity building workshop for border security agencies.
We want to be able to put them in a position where they can easily detect when some people are trying to traffic these illicit arms or ammunition into the country, whether parts and components, either into the country or out of the country. They should be in a position to detect and be able to apprehend the people behind it, and should be able to investigate to make sure they also are able to prosecute them.
In 2024 alone, the United Nations recorded at least 48,000 conflict-related civilian deaths, with small arms responsible for up to 30% in some cases. Principal Revenue Officer Martin Dogle, the officer in charge of Paga Customs and chairman of the Paga Border Security Committee, urged stronger collaboration among security agencies to curb the infiltration of arms.
BOSEC is very vibrant here. At various times and in various forms we share information, and this is helping us a lot to operate. In fact, we have very good collaboration with our counterparts across the border as well, and they also feed us with information regarding movement of drugs, arms, and all that.
The Paga border in the Katsina-Nankana West District is one of the largest in the country, serving as a critical gateway for the movement of cargo to and from the Sahel region. The district chief executive, Stephen Akurugu, urged residents to take the gun amnesty seriously. Castro Sinyala, TV3 News, Paga.
The district.
From that region, let's come to the Ashanti region, where the Kumasi High Court has ruled that both Priscilla Ofori, popularly known as Odobroni, and Akosia Sewa Fosu are the customarily married wives of the late high life icon Daddy Lumba. The judgment, delivered by Justice Dorinda Smith-Arthur, dismissed the plaintiff's request to be declared as the only surviving wife.
The legal dispute erupted after the musician's death when the plaintiff, Akuffo, asserted that she was Lumba's sole legal wife, relying on a German marriage certificate to establish her claim. But the court found her argument fundamentally flawed. Kumasi High Court Judge Justice Dorinda Smith-Atta ruled that the document presented as a marriage certificate was merely an extract whose authenticity could not be confirmed. The court noted that the certificate had not been validated by the Ghana Embassy in Germany, an essential requirement that must bear an official diplomatic seal. Additionally, the document was signed by an individual who lacked the legal authority to do so. Justice Smith-Atta observed that although the plaintiff acknowledged that Lumba had returned to Ghana due to ill health, she herself made no effort to join him, undermining her own assertion of abandonment. After a comprehensive review of all evidence, the court concluded that the customary marriages of both Addo and Akuffo to the deceased were valid and legally recognized.
So I think it is fair because it's a win-win situation for all. Both women are wives, which is very paramount. This is the peace that Lumba so much desired. And we are hopeful that 13th December, he'll be buried.
I disagree, but I respect it.
So going for that, do you have anything to do?
It will depend on what my client says. You see, when my client says that, I should appear away.
The court finally ruled that nothing should hinder the release of the musician's body to the family for burial. Ibrahim Abubakar, TV3 News, Kumasi.
And back to the Greater Accra region now, and at the Mervynpick Ambassador Hotel, a Women Empowerment Summit was held to address the growing challenge of gender-based violence in Ghana. The event brought together key policymakers and stakeholders to share their perspectives.
Gender-based violence remains a major issue confronting many in Ghana. During the summit, Justice Ife-Asewa Asare-Botwe commended DOSU for their dedication, but questioned the charges leveled against perpetrators.
You charge assault when there is no mark, but if somebody hits somebody, naturally with a stick, you will get a mark. Even if there's no mark, if you charge the person with causing unlawful harm and you are able to prove assault, you will be getting a
we ain't sama horo itimi course watch no so mama no asaw jemre e hara sene so baade no e de adumbi adumiania e be san abawrem na yaksumu yipa